Creador. Greetings everyone and welcome back. Once again to your channel Panda Creador. In today's lesson, we will be looking at how to configure our work environment. To do this, we will see how to install Neo4j Desktop, which is done in a facility local on your computer, and we will see how to configure Neo4j AuraDB, which would be working directly in the Neo4j cloud. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. Now to install Neo4j Desktop, we will go directly to Neo4j website, which we will do by accessing www.neo4j.com. Once there, we will be seeing a page similar to the one I'm showing you. Well, it depends on the design at the time you're watching this video. Here we can see that Neo4j brings the facilities it brings. You can use it in any of the 3 best-known clouds we have, such as Google Cloud, Azure, and AWS. In these moments, we are interested in accessing Neo4j Desktop. Let's go where it says Products. We are heading towards Graph Tools and then to Neo4j Developer Tools. Click on it and this will take us to the web page that we are seeing on the screen, where we can see details of what Neo4j Desktop brings. Let's go directly to Download. We click. Here he is showing us that Neo4j has 2 versions, the Company version, Enterprise Edition, and the Community version, Community Edition. The Community version is totally free, and you can use it both for yourself and for your projects. The Enterprise version has a license to accept and has costs to consider when used with commercial purposes. You can install a plugin that they have their own costs, just like the plugin from APLC and those from Data Science and others. But you can take that into account to the extent that your project needs it. And if you have a startup or a company that is starting with this wonderful database, you can contact the Neo4j company and know the costs and offers they have in the time to use your technology. We give it a click. Once the download button is clicked, we came to this web page where we put our personal data to proceed with the download. And here below, they mention to us that once given clicking the Download Desktop button, we are implicitly accepting the license from Neo4j for using Neo4j Desktop. If you have doubts, read the license, and then we will proceed. After clicking the Download Desktop button, it would then take us to this window. On this website, they give us a key activation for Neo4j Desktop. What would be this key that we see here? We copy it and paste it in a notepad. Once Neo4j Desktop is downloaded, we will go to the folder where it was saved. We already have Neo4j Desktop downloaded, and we have the activation key in a notepad that the Neo4j website gave us. Now we will proceed with the installation by double-clicking. After running, the installer tells us to select the reach of users who will be able to use it on your computer. I selected only for my, and now we look at the folder destination where Neo4j Desktop will be installed. I'm going to give you a personalized path because I work directly with Neo4j in the Social Seed project. Then I have a hard disk dedicated to it. You can directly use button Next without any problem, and they will install in the default address it is already installed. Let's click the Finish button. The first thing he's going to show you is the Neo4j Desktop license. We click on I agree. Now we put the address where the application data will be stored. In this case, I will also give it in path personalized within a disk that I have Neo4j, and I confirm it. Once Neo4j Desktop opens, the window will appear to register the software, and in this case, we're going to use the key that we have previously saved. We copy and paste it in the validation box. Then we click on Activate, and now it begins to verify the system, install it, and make all the necessary preparations. It has already finished starting and shows us a window where it notifies us that if we accept, an anonymous report will be sent to Neo4j, which by using it will improve Neo4j Desktop. I click on OK. Here we see that it is started, and in the list of projects we have an example project, where this one comes with a Neo4j database and has 2 saves or dumps of the databases. The example project that is installed by US by default Neo4j Desktop we will not be using in this course, since the objective is, as the goal is to teach you how to create a social network from scratch And in the lengthy process that this entails, you will learn everything you need about Cypher and Neo4j. Let's delete this example project. Click on red trash icon and it will show a warning where it informs us that once the project is deleted, it cannot be undone and all associated databases will be removed. Data associated with the project will be deleted. We click on remove and it has already been deleted. Now we are going to create a new project. We give it click on new project. We change the name. We name it the project to social seed and we accept. Now let's create a database instance. We have two ways to add database instances to a project here. In add, we click on it and we says it may be an instance local or connect to a remote instance. We will work now with the local. Here we will keep the default name and the password will be Neo4j Social because it is the password I am currently using to connect from Spring Boot. If we click here, a menu will be displayed where we can see all the versions that we can currently use in Neo4j Desktop since 4.1.0 until the latest version that at this moment it is 5.15.0, and when selecting one of these versions, what would happen would be that in the moment we click the button, Create will start downloading from internet the version we select. I will select the one that comes with the installation of Neo4j Desktop, which is 5.12.0. Already once selected, we click on the Create button and it will start us to create the Neo4j instance for the version that we select on our computer. At this point, the database is already being created from Neo4j to our social seed project. Taking advantage of the fact that this will take some time depending on the qualities of your computer, so we are going to review this menu of options. What do we have on the left side? The first thing we see are the projects, where if we update, we will see the project list we have. The second thing we can see are the instances of Neo4j database. Here we will see the version of the database that has the instance and where is it being used and how many times. For example, in the Social Seed project has an installation and is installed in database name, GraphDBMS. We have the option, Graph Apps, which would be graph applications that can be installed Neo4j Desktop and already installed. We have Neo4j Browser, which is where let's run our queries. Neo4j Bloom, which is where we are going to parameterize queries and view them more efficiently. And we can modify data directly above nodes and more details, which we will learn later in the series. We have Graph Apps Gallery that once opened it will show us, as its name indicates, a gallery of graph applications that we will install about Neo4j Desktop. All the applications that we are seeing, if we click on the Install button, they will install directly within Neo4j Desktop. Continuing in the menu, in the section below, we can see configurations and details of Neo4j Desktop. Here we can see a section dedicated to documentation. In this other section, we can see a center of notifications where Neo4j will notify us when there are updates for both Neo4j Desktop as for some of the apps that we have installed. Here we can see the section from Application Settings, where we can select the information we want send to collaborate with the improvement of Neo4j Desktop, and these would be problems and use. We can also specify that you save the passwords that we use to connect the databases. Also, we have the proxy and address settings and where Neo4j Desktop data will be stored. Here we have the activation key with which we are using Neo4j Desktop, which fits for a short time because it is the one I have used since it's been a while, and then I have to update it. In the About section of Neo4j Desktop, we will be able to appreciate the version, who created and to whom it belongs, as well as its copyright. Now we go to Projects, and we already have the Neo4j instance, and we can start it by clicking the Start button. It will take a while, and while it's starting, let's see the details that come to us in this menu. In Details, we can add a description to the database instance. We can see the installed version, which is 5.12.0, the edition that in this case is the Enterprise, and the status of the instance that is being started. The Enterprise edition of Neo4j allows us have several databases and add to them APOC and the Graph Data Science libraries and more things. It has no limit on the number of nodes and relationships to have because we have another edition in Neo4j, which is the community, which does have several limitations since it is a free use edition. In this case, we already have running, and here we have the IP address, which would be localhost. We have the bolt post, the HTTP post, and the HTTPS. With these ports, we can connect now either from a website or from an application, what we do in Java, Python, or another language. Here in Plugin, we have the APOC plugin, which is a library that has more than 450 procedures and functions that help us in many ways to use Neo4j more efficiently. We also have libraries, Graph Data Science, GDS, and more. Here we see that he loaded and says that the available version is compatible with this version of Neo4j, since almost always the versions of APOC and Neo4j will be the same. If I click on Install Now, it would install without problems. The Upgrade tab is for when we want to make our database update to higher versions. For example, go to version 5, 15.0. We select said version and click on Upgrade, and what would happen is that it would download the version 5, 15.0, and it would pass our database from 5.12 to 5.15 with all our data. If we go here to the instance that we are running from Neo4j, we can see we have two menu options. One is these 3 points that gives the options for the project, and the other is this one here that shows us applications for previously installed. To run them about our instance that is running, we go to the 3-point menu and click on Settings, and we get all Neo4j database configuration. See all the configuration here and more later. In the series, we will touch on some things from here. We click on Logs, and it would show us the logs of the database that is running at this moment, and we see that it is started, when it started, the ports, and more details. When the queries are executed, it will give us more logs, and we will see them in query. Log, we also have Open Folder, which it is to open the folders that come in the project. For example, if we give clicking on DBMS, would open the folder where the entire database is physically located. That is to say that we would be seeing the database of the project with which we are working. That would be Social Seed, which would be composed of all the folders we can see. If we click on the 3 dots and we go, Open Folder Configuration. I would be opening the folder where the settings are. Here we see the configuration folder. We can see the file Neo4j conf and other configuration, and so on with the other folders, import and plugins. If we click Import, it would show us the import folder where we would place the files Baptiste SV or JJSON when you want to import them directly from Neo4j browser with Cypher. Up to this point, we have seen everything you need for Neo4j Desktop to start the Social Seed series. Let's now see the other way with which we will be able to work with Neo4j in this course. Well, if you don't want to install Neo4j on your computer, or your computer does not have a lot of RAM memory, because Neo4j consumes a lot of RAM and makes good use of the microprocessor, we can access an option that Neo4j offers us that will not consume resources on the computer personal, and we will use Neo4j from the cloud. We turn off the local instance, or we close Neo4j directly desktop and tell it to stop the instance. Returning to the Neo4j page, we have another option to work with Neo4j, and this option you can also use it to take the course, and it is very practical because you don't need to install it locally. We click on the Get Started for Free, and by clicking directly, we would take you to this page that we see on the screen, which would be to start with Neo4j AuraDB. Neo4j AuraDB is a cloud service that allows us, the Neo4j company, offers that we will not have to manage it. The Neo4j team automatically updates the database that we are using, and they get the log reports. This service offers us 3 ways to consume it. One is free. We do not have to put a credit card, you just have to register and start using it. The second way is AuraDB Professional, which would be for medium-scale applications where the cost is $65 per month. And the third, it would be AuraDB Enterprise, dedicated to companies bigger. And for this, you must talk with Neo4j company to reach an agreement. The Neo4j company also provides another solution when you talk to them, which is special for startups. Let's click on Start Free. We will not be paying anything, and we're going to have an instance in the cloud, and we can even use it from a cell phone, although it can be uncomfortable due to the size of the most recommended screen would be a laptop. Once we have the page open to which the last click sends us, we will be seeing this window where we see the explanation of Neo4j Aura can be scaled quickly, that the administration is maintained by the company, and more benefits that we provides the Neo4j company in its cloud. To get started with Neo4j Aura, we need first of all create an account. For this we have two ways. The first is to place an email here and click on Continue, and the other is register with Google or organization SSO. I registered with Google. I click on it. I'm already in the administration of Neo4j Aura, like I've worked with her other times. I don't remember if loads you some example database. If you can another instance already installed, you can delete it as we did in Neo4j Desktop and start with everything blank. In the course, we will be working on a blank instance. Let's click on New Instance. Now we have to choose between professional and free. Let's see quickly before clicking on them. Free instance details. In the free instance, the RAM memory will have a maximum capacity 200,000 nodes and 400,000 relationships, will have graph tools, and it will pause automatically after 3 days of inactivity. Let's click on Create Free Instance. This password that they are giving us here, it is important to have it saved. No, it can be modified and must be saved because you will never have access to it again. We click on Download and Continue. We see that it has already been downloaded. We click on Open Downloads and it shows me the username and password. This address is the one with which we can access this instance via Neo4j Desktop or through a program that we are already doing either in Spring Boot with Java or in Python or in any other language from which you can use the Neo4j connection drivers. Creating a new instance is delayed a little, so I'll cut here and be back shortly. As we can see, the instance is already created, and if we see here in the status, we see that he is running. This is the instance. Name is instance 01, and we can see several data here. The version is Neo4j version 5. Of the 200,000 nodes that we have available, we have not created any. We also have no relationship. The region is Iowa, USA, Cloud, Google Cloud, and we can see the address of the URI. Here we can do three things. By default, we have these three applications installed. The Explore that would open a connecting to the instance with Neo4j Bloom query. What would it be to open a connection to the instance with Neo4j browser? And the Import that would open a connection to the instance with Neo4j Data Importer to import file data directly to this instance. What is the limitation? What does Neo4j Data Importer have? Is that there is a limit to the amount of data that we can import. Once you have your instance running, click on Query and Neo4j Browser will open in a new tab. In this case, we click on Server Connect. Here for the password, let's go to use the one you downloaded, the one in Neo4j_password, and for the others data, we will use the ones that come by default. Then click on Connect. Here at Neo4j Browser, it gives us to start with a small guide in which he teaches us how to get started with Neo4j Browser. Run queries, we are not going to use this. I'm going to teach you step by step how to learn Cypher and Neo4j. Up to this point, we have already seen how to connect the Neo4j browser to the AuraDB instance and how to start your project in Neo4j Desktop. I will be working with Neo4j Desktop in the Social Seed series, and you can choose whether work with Neo4j Desktop or Neo4j AuraDB, as it is most convenient for you. Thank you for reaching the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, we will be seeing what they are, the variables, when to use them, how use them, and we will be all this looking inside Neo4j, and if it is inside Cypher, which is the language that Neo4j uses. So I hope that this class has been useful to you, Creator, and for next time we will start directly with Cypher. Greetings to all creators, and I hope see you in the next video from his channel at Panda Creador.